Okay, so I understand the problems you're addressing. I just have, because I happen to work in the industry, and so the CEO I used to work for. So I just have a different view on the solution that you guys are providing, only for two reasons. One is because the energy business is so entrenched that they have their roots really deep, and for something to come from the outside and change how they do business,
that's why that's one of the reasons that we're starting our own rep.
Yeah.
So
okay. Let's do this. Let's switch gears and transition into. You guys are about to do an ICO, right? So
token sale.
Yeah, the token sale, right? So let's just talk about the token sale too, because we spent a lot of time on the solution and the problem and the solution that you guys are providing. Talk a little bit about the token.
So there's the Bolt token that we talked about. That has nothing to do with the token sale. That's again just a mechanism to get consumers signed up that don't know anything about cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
The token sale is selling something called a grid token, and a grid token will be redeemable to get 500 kilowatt hours of energy, essentially at our costs. So wholesale plus distribution charges.
Okay.
So if you are just a regular Grid Plus customer and we charge you 30% above cost, maybe you're paying 8 cents for your energy. If you have a grid token and you redeem it, you could get that energy for say 6.
Okay.
And so that's what the grid token does.
Okay. So basically you're offering, so when does this token sale begin or end, or what's the details of it?
So we've done a pre-sale. We generated about 29 million in sales in the pre-sale, and the public sale is on Monday.
Monday? What's the date on Monday?
30th.
The 30th? Okay, October the 30th?
Yep.
Okay. And then do you guys have a cap on the token sale, or a hard cap, or do you guys...
So in total we're selling 90 million grid tokens between the pre and public sale. So I think there's 50 million, 52 million something available for the public sale.
Okay, 52 million like in US dollars.
Grid tokens. And each grid is $1.15. So
$1.15?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you said that you sold 29 million already, was that $29 million worth of grid tokens, or
Correct.
29 million tokens?
$29 million.
Worth of grid tokens already?
Correct.
Okay. And then so basically you're looking at raising about somewhere around 50...
So we'll generate... Well, if we sell through...
but let's say that you reach out your full cap.
Yeah, the cap.
You sell out.
It'd be right around, I think, 90.
90?
Yeah.
Now, so one of the things that we've been seeing...
85 maybe.
According to Coin Schedule, we've had like $2 billion worth of money raised this year through different token sales and different projects, right? One of the biggest concern, and that's what we were just discussing here at the table before you came up, right, was that the market is so flooded with all these different token sales, and that everybody's starting to say that, hey, you know what, these projects are asking for way too much money to build. The rest of our team, like I'm not a software engineer, but my teammates, they are professional software engineers, and they used to get paid anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 a year as a software engineer, and they've worked on different professional projects before where they're saying that, hey, all it takes is about $10 to $15 million.
I would generally agree with your sentiment, especially for software-based projects.
Yeah.
If you look at our project, it's a hardware-based project, it's a software-based project, and it's a business project.
Okay, so talk about the hardware.
There's significant costs in each one of those segments. I mean, to give you an idea, cost of customer acquisition of a customer in Texas can be $250 per customer.
Okay.
So if we want to get, 100,000 customers, we can end up spending $25 million on customer acquisition.
Okay, that's understandable. That's understandable. Right. So you need that from basically that's marketing money.
Well, so there's marketing money. We have a prototype of our smart energy agent, which we need to get to a production standpoint.
So what is that? Is that the hardware? Okay, so I was
Yeah.
not aware that you guys were building hardware also.
Yep.
So talk about this hardware. Is this like a smart meter that measures?
So the smart energy agent does a couple of things. One is that it buys and sells on behalf of the consumer. It learns the consumer's behavior and buys and sells in a more educated manner.
But is it like a smart? Is it a meter that they install outside the house?
So it's a
Or is it-
device about yay big. It connects to the Wi-Fi, can read the meter via Zigbee,
Yeah.
and then gets market pricing data from us.
And then who installs that? The utility company or?
No, it's something you just plug in and connect to your Wi-Fi, so the user can do it.
Okay, and then how does that connect to your electrical meter? Because in the U.S. you cannot go and tamper with the electrical meters. That's like illegal.
Yeah, so you have to get a cert, right? And then you can push the cert to the device,
Okay.
and then it can.
So if I'm just playing devil's advocate here, you
Yeah.
know, because our viewers expect me to ask, you know, all the questions that that I think that is relevant, right? And one of the questions I have is like, let's just say that I'm the utility company and I operate the smart meter. I'm the one that owns the smart meter that I put on
so
your house.
individuals already have, I believe it's regulated access to that, so they can get a cert if they want it.
Oh, they can? Because it would be like, if I own that meter and I installed it at your house, I would be very protective of that meter and not give you access to it,
Yeah.
no matter what you're trying to do.
And then the other thing is, there's also, if the cert issue becomes difficult, we also get the data via ERCOT, via the GSM network. So in a non-ideal system, if we have issues with the certs, we can push the data down to the agent on their own consumption, which still works because they're trusting us, but there's already a bilateral trust relationship, so you're not really changing that. But they could get the data through us if they had to,
Okay.
because we get it through ERCOT. So, and again, we have to get the data from ERCOT because.
Can you explain to the audience what ERCOT is?
So ERCOT is the what we call the Independent System Operator of Texas. So they're essentially a nonprofit organization that oversees the electricity market generally to create reliability of the electrical grid. So they're the ones that essentially form and run the wholesale markets, the real-time markets, the demand response markets.
Would it be safe to say like they're kind of like the SEC of the electrical market in Texas?
I don't think that's really what it is. I mean, it's kind of like they're a NASDAQ more than anything else.
Okay.
But it's a little bit different because their mandate's different, the market's different. They have technical sort of requirements that drive what they're doing. But it would be more of like from our standpoint, they're an exchange, but they're also a regulatory body. They're also, it's
Okay.
weird.
So, so let's say that if any viewers out there want more information about Grid Plus, where's the best place to go and learn about your project and, if they want to participate in it or whatever,
Yeah, so they can go to our website, gridplus.io. We have a blog. I think we probably have 20 blogs about this by now.
Okay.
And there's some media coverage. There's a 65-page white paper. We have a demo app if they're a little more technical, if they want to check it out.
Okay, so this is the first time that I've met you at the Texas Bitcoin Conference, thanks to an introduction from one of our channel subscribers, right? So is there anybody on your team that is notable? I mean, you're working for Consensus right now, but is there any team member that you have that is a notable individual in the crypto community that the audience can relate with? Is Vitalik on your project, an advisor on your project, or anything like that?
Joe Lubin is an advisor.
Okay,
on our
Joe
project.
Lubin is one of the original founders of
Yeah,
Ethereum.
the Lilics, Igor and John Lilik are advisors.
Okay.
They were involved in the Brooklyn microgrid, which was the first proof of concept showing energy trades on a blockchain.
Okay.
That was done in 2015. We also have Jeff Char, who is the Chief Innovation Officer at TEPCO,
Okay.
which is Japan's largest electrical utility. And then on the team, there's myself, there's Mark D'Agostino, who was very early in the enterprise consulting development at
Okay.
Consensus, and he helped build that business over the last 2 years.
Okay, and you said that your office, you're going to set up office in San Antonio? Or
Austin.
Austin? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then you, because I traveled to Austin a lot, in the future when you guys have any updates or something or anything, big updates, you cool if our team swings by and see what you guys are up to?
Yeah.
Where are you guys going to be located at? Do you have an idea?
We haven't pinned that down at the moment.
Which area would you like to be in?
We're looking at downtown.
Downtown?
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck on the traffic.
Yeah.
That's like trying to get into the middle of Manhattan on a busy day.
It depends on what side of downtown you're on.
Yeah.
Right. If you can get from the west side, you're okay because you can do Mopac. But if you have to touch 35, it's a nightmare.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna stay on the Mopac side, closer to the Mopac side.
Yeah, we'd like to have accessibility from Mopac. Would be.
So you guys are gonna be near the Factum office then?
We haven't pinned it down specifically, but those are the areas we're looking for the office. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the just to wrap things up? How is the blockchain space in Austin? How do you see it? Because Stream Space is here.
Yeah.
You guys.
It's definitely
Grid
growing.
Plus is here.
Yeah.
Factum is here.
Yep.
There's a few. Multi-coin hedge fund is here. So there's Stash is from Austin.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Okay, did you guys have any questions?
Yeah, how can we be sure that the
Sure.
reps...
Sure.
Karl, I was wondering, how can we be sure that the reps pass on those efficiency savings back to the consumers? Because they could just take that efficiency saving and add it to their profit.
Well, Grid Plus is going to be a rep. It's trying to compete on price. So
you think you can personally start pushing that
Correct.
down?
Correct. Now, I don't know if other reps can realize those efficiencies without changing their economic model or adopting the technology. So, in terms of future plans, we're looking at licensing this in other markets and potentially to other operators. So
you're looking to move outside Texas as well? You've got other aspirations for that? Or?
Well, like I said, we have one of our advisors is from TEPCO, and we also have an MOU signed with them. So we can look at foreign markets through licensing and domestic markets either through licensing and or expanding our operation base. So.
Listening to what you're saying and just, and this is going off of my experience of working at the energy brokerage firm where they were mining Bitcoins, how I learned about Bitcoins, and I learned about the energy business through that, right?
It's a small world, man. I was seriously talking to St. Clair about this yesterday.
Yeah, he'll probably see this video and crack up, but so here's the thing that I'm thinking, right, from St. Clair is the CEO of the energy brokerage firm I used to work at. And what I've learned from him is that, this guy, if you've talked to him, that dude's a smart dude. Like, he's not a dummy, right? He's one of the smartest guys, businessmen that I know, right? And what I've learned from him is that the way that energy used to be manufactured by nuclear power plants, gas plants, coal plants, and then they get distributed out. But because the cost of solar panels and wind energy are getting lower and lower and lower to the point where natural gas is here and the cost of manufacturing and producing solar energy is getting lower and lower to where it's almost, on par.
Many people would argue that it's cheaper than at this point.
Yeah. So once it gets whether it's at that point or it gets to that point, the long-term outlook that I learned from St. Clair was that energy is going to be localized now. It's not going to be manufactured hundreds of miles away and transmitted to where we use it here in Austin.
That's absolutely what we see as the end state.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do we get from here to there? And we believe that creating this system that allows for more granular, dynamic payments, pricing, and markets,
and so it can be done locally,
is how you do it.
Yeah, but the challenge that our team has seen, because we've been contacted by multiple energy projects that are trying to tokenize and apply the blockchain towards their energy, and they're doing something similar to what you guys are doing. Like, everybody sees the problem, and everybody has a different solution to fixing the problem. But the problem that we've seen as investors on our channel is that electricity is a commodity. The electricity that's manufactured or produced by a nuclear power plant or a natural gas plant is the same.
Yeah.
The electricity that comes out of it, the source of the manufacturing is different, but when the electricity finally gets generated, it's the same. A kilowatt from a nuclear power plant is the same as a kilowatt from a natural gas plant, right? And the problem that we see is that when you try to tokenize those kilowatts of energy, they're all the same. So like if somebody over here puts in a kilowatt from a natural gas plant and you over here put it from a solar panel, right? And we try to tokenize those kilowatts, it's hard to tell which one's which. So that's the problem that we've always seen in it.
You can't though. It's completely non-differentiated, and that's
Yeah.
where you get the introduction of renewable energy credits. And those actually are arguably a great way to make the trading and subsidizing of renewable energy generation markets more efficient and more portable across regulatory districts.
Okay.
That's not something that we're addressing. None of what we're saying is tokenization of electricity.
You're
We're
talking
using-
about clearing and settlement.
Yeah, we're just doing clearing and settlement
Okay.
initially. There are other applications where you start tokenizing assets, the RECs being a great application. So for people that don't know what a renewable energy credit is, it's essentially if I have solar generation, I produce a megawatt, I get a credit that says, hey, I produced a megawatt of solar. I can then sell that credit to someone who wants to buy it. So a consumer that based off, a preference and or mandate needs to buy a certain amount of renewable energy. They can't actually get an electron from my solar panel. They get the electron off the grid, and then they simultaneously buy this credit that says, I bought a credit that subsidized essentially the production of a megawatt from solar.
Okay.
And that's the mechanism of economic pass-through. The issue with these things is they don't cross state lines. So if you're in North Carolina and you get an REC, and although you're connected to South Carolina, you can't necessarily go across these state lines with one market to another. And because of how the markets exist across states, I guess the better example is New York and Pennsylvania. Because New York and REC could be like $200, but in Pennsylvania it can be like 20.
Yeah.
You're electrically connected between these two things. Power that's generated in Pennsylvania flows into New York, but you can't get the RECs across the state lines because of who sort of generates and certifies them. So
Yeah.
if you were to tokenize those credits, you could see much more portability on the renewable energy credits across more markets and get more efficient market discovery
Yeah.
and pass-throughs to generators.
See, so that was one, because electricity, you cannot differentiate the electrons that are created from solar versus the electrons that are created from wind or nuclear or natural gas. That was one problem that was holding us back from investing into any energy-related projects, blockchain projects.
Yeah.
The second thing that prevented our team from investing into any of these projects, was that because my experience working in the energy brokerage business, it takes so long to change things that let's just say that you did come out with the Grid Plus and it does everything like you said. It does everything perfectly just like you said. It would take years for it to be implemented into the current system because it's so, these guys they just got the lockdown on their current business.
Yes and no, right? Because the reps as they exist have a 30% customer churn per year.
Yeah.
So if you're able to come in and sell those customers at a lower price point who are largely churning because they're looking for lower priced electricity or some form of incentive, you're gonna be able to take a percentage of that market if you can come up with a lower cost solution. So in terms of the entrenchedness of the market, I agree that there are many highly entrenched players that aren't going to change, but if you start your own REP, you can put your own technology stack in place, and if you can demonstrate those benefits to your customers, the customers are going to come 100% because that customer churn, that 30% is looking for
when you said
cheaper
30% customer churn, that means that the REPs are only having a 70% retention rate
every year.
Okay, so that might be more realistic in the retail consumer household, but when I was working at the energy
you have much stickier relationships, and that's one of the reasons that we're not starting out in C&I.
So just so that our audience knows, like at the energy brokerage firm I worked with, right, we had like a 98% customer retention rate.
Yeah,
like the only time we lose a customer after they became a customer, St. Clair took good care of them, and we lost. And the only reason why we lost them was because they went out of business or something, or they
Right.
relocated their business and they were no longer under our jurisdiction. But any business that St. Clair got with his energy brokerage firm when I worked there,
Yeah, so-
they stayed there. They never left.
So as
So
long,
that
as
30% that you're talking about
didn't exist.
I'm not familiar with that, because that must be with like individual households, not with commercial businesses or with reputable energy brokerage
which is
firms.
where we're starting, though. So
Okay.
in the residential market, there's a tremendous churn,
Yeah.
which indicates that there's a demand for energy that's differentiated on cost.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's what I wanted to share with our audience, and I appreciate you sitting in on this session to explain to us about Grid Plus. Is there any other information or that you want to share with our audience before we conclude?
Yeah, I guess the one other thing that I'd like to mention is that the smart energy agent isn't just a smart energy agent. It's actually a mechanism to bring crypto to the masses, because it creates a system that a naive user can plug in and safely store, access, and use cryptocurrencies. So energy is really just one application
Okay.
of a much broader system that we're
Okay.
building. So you can think of the smart energy agent really as a crypto-enabled IoT gateway device.
Yeah.
You can think of it as a crypto banking device.
Yeah.
You can think of it as a node potentially in other distributed applications. So there's, a Linux piece of that agent which can be, potentially modified in the future to support other applications like IPFS or Infura.
Okay.
Or you could even think of it as a mechanism for doing remote Casper signing.
Okay.
So there's sort of innumerable benefits that are beyond electricity that would help the ecosystem more broadly and could potentially be taken advantage of in the future.
I will say this about Grid Plus and your project, just based on what I've learned from you in this interview session, is that a lot of projects that we talk to, it just sounds so ridiculous. Like, it's like, what the hell are they even talking about, right? With your project, I can see that you're solving a real world problem. The only obstacle that I see with your project, it's getting it, it's not that the solution doesn't work, it's getting it, the current system to adopt your solution. That's going to be where I see is the biggest hurdle.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's
one of the reasons we're taking this approach, though, because by establishing our own RAP, we're defining the rules such that they fit within the current infrastructure and regulatory environment. So we don't need anything to change for us to get it to work.
Okay, so
Now, over time, if you want more efficiencies and you want better market discovery and pricing, you need to drive regulatory changes. But all we're talking about is doing financial settlement in real time on a blockchain, and we don't believe we need any carve-outs for it. So we can put the system in place, and it exists within the prepaid world of retail electricity sales within Texas. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on our show and sharing the information about Grid Plus. And then if you guys want to learn more about it, go to, can you say the website again? Because we always forget to put it in the description.
Gridplus.io.
Okay, gridplus.io. If you guys like videos like this where we have boots on the ground and we actually ask real developers, real software engineers about their projects, right? And so that you know that there's a real person behind the project and not just a piece of white paper by some Russian hacker somewhere, right? Go to our channel, go to www.cryptocurrency.market/newsletter and subscribe to our newsletter. And this is where we send out all the videos that we research, okay? So thanks for having us here.
Appreciate it.
And it's a small world, I guess,
Yeah, it is.
So, all right, so we'll see you guys in the next video.